Hello everyone, it's Mark and welcome back. In this video, I want to talk to you about the number one problem with the Baker Act. So somebody who recently called the office said they'd been looking at the videos and they said, Mark, what is the number one problem with the Baker Act? And I said, it's very simple. There is no judicial oversight. No judge is watching what's going on here. So let me explain. When I was a young prosecutor, and we're going back to the 90s now, so I'm probably aging myself, we were required to, on the weekends, go to first appearance. So here in the state of Florida, if you get arrested for a crime, any criminal offense which requires you to be taken to the local county jail, if you cannot post the bond, in other words, so crimes have a certain bond, right? Could be $5,000, could be $10,000, could be $1,500. It's what's known as a scheduled bond. In other words, a bond that applies to that specific crime regardless of the individual, for the most part. Okay, but if you cannot post the bond, or perhaps you've been arrested for a crime that's not bondable, it could be domestic battery, right? Here in Florida, if you get arrested for domestic battery, you're going to be held overnight. You're not going to be allowed to post bond. But within 24 hours, you will see a judge. And a couple of things will happen at that first appearance. Number one, the judge is going to make a determination if there was even probable cause to arrest you. Number two, you have a right to counsel. Now, depending on your financial status, you may qualify for the appointment of the public defender. But you also have a right to have private counsel come before the court, argue to a judge there was no probable cause, argue to a judge that the bond should be low enough so that you can post it and be released, or maybe even argue that you shouldn't have to post a bond at all and you should be allowed to be released. But here in Florida, if you get Baker Acted, okay, so you haven't committed a crime, somebody has just said, well, you have a mental health issue going on here and you are potentially a threat to yourself or somebody else, you can get taken to a Baker facility. You are now in the hands of the state of Florida, and guess what? You don't see a judge at all, potentially for a significant period of time. So if the facility has managed to sort of convince you or coerce you to remain voluntarily, then you're probably not going to see a judge potentially at all, ever. Okay, unless somebody like me comes along and drags them into court, then you get to see a judge potentially. But if you're there involuntarily, they get to keep you for up to 72 hours. If they don't release you at the end of 72 hours, then they can file a petition with the court to keep you, and then 4 or 5 days later, then you get to see a judge. So you see what's going on here. You've been alleged to commit a crime. You see a judge, potentially definitely within 24 hours, maybe even sooner. If you get arrested at night, you probably see a judge first thing in the morning, maybe even less than 12 hours. You get Baker Acted, facility gets to keep you up to 72 hours. Then they file to keep you. That gives them another 4 or 5 days. So now you're spending a week in a facility. You're a ward of the state, and you potentially don't get to see a judge until a week after you have been detained, potentially illegally, unlawfully, in violation of your statutory and constitutional rights. So you see what the problem is here, right? You're not a criminal. You potentially even went there voluntarily looking for help, or somebody says that you need help, and you're stuck there, and nobody is watching what's going on here. Which is why I have preached in most of the videos you will see on my website and online that time is of the essence. Okay, if you have been Baker Acted unlawfully in violation of your rights, both statutory and constitutional, then the way to remedy that situation is to basically get you a first appearance, right? Get you in front of a judge as quickly as possible. That's what I specialize in. So if your loved one has been Baker Acted, it's a race to the courthouse. Once they file to keep you, you're getting stuck there for 4 or 5 more days, even if you shouldn't be there. So with that said, I hope that that answers the question as to the number one problem with the Baker Act. I don't know if it'll ever get fixed, but I'm here to provide relief and remedies for families. So with that said, thanks for tuning in. See you in the next video. Bye-bye.